Hello Transformers fans, let's start the show and strike some shadow. Now Transformers Legacy is kind of amazing in terms of scrounging around the different corners and eras of the franchise, making it feel like a big, loving, diverse celebration of its history and future. It's like if the feeling of being at a Transformers convention was a whole toy line. And if this just is what Generations is now, I'd be pretty happy with that. Thus leads to our girl Shadow Striker, one of the breakout stars who emerged from the shadows in the Transformers Cyberverse cartoon. A cold, grumpy fighter with a permanent snarling sneer who occasionally showed the faintest crack of warmth. Plus, she's a purple Decepticon woman carformer, a quadruple threat. So today, let's get struck by Legacy Evolution Shadow Striker.
Bumblebee, I want to thank you.
Looking at her, you can smell the inevitable fragrance of repurposing later down the road. It's giving Robots in Disguise 2001 Sideburn. You know, them. Obviously. Which is a bit of a departure from her Cyberverse style, but I actually think making her a possible Sideburn pre-tool is pretty smart, because her first ever toy, Transformers Collector's Convention exclusive 2003 Universe Shadow Striker, happened to be a retool of Sideburn. I hope you like all this sexy exposition. So it's like this toy is a fusion of Shadow Striker's history, calling back to her first ever highly esoteric appearance with the colors and head she's now associated with. Her robot mode stands strong and confident with her joints as tough as her demeanor. She's a very intuitive and scrappy little gremlin with her big boxy Ben Solo chest, the industrial silvery upper crotch, the bitchin' metallic purple painted pipes, and her bright red engine, which kinda looks like she's packing some hot dogs. The colors are shadow striking with the purple and red rocking the Robbie Rotten. I wish there was a bit more color contrast, but for an angsty goth chick, the purple and black is very appropriate. Us emo girls gotta recognize each other. Her legs hold their own as athletic, slender, yet supportive stilts with these things that look like bat tattoos on her shins. Hell yeah! God, what a punk queen. And I see Hasbro's listening to the high fan demand of more bite-worthy thighs in the main line. You know, I've joked about sexy Transformers thighs so many times, I'm not sure I'm joking anymore. And her long-ass ski feet do a great job of keeping her up while posing her all buff and stuff. Although maybe her legs could have been a bit less far apart. Not much to report with the arms, but at least they're good with decent enough posing, a weapon port, and sporting open hands, which look way more relaxed than the airtight Arthur fists you tend to see. Although her shoulders are weirdly recessed into her body, and she can't swing her arms backwards, so she's probably gonna need some help scratching that bat. And looking at her angular geometric head, she looks plenty pissed off with her shadow strike chin spike and her pointy angry eyebrows sculpted onto that dome like she's perpetually over this shit. I also like the unique feature of an animated Blitzwing mismatched monocle eye. That's not something you see too often. It's easy to give flack for her packing these back flaps. I get they have to go somewhere, but they do obscure the figure's shape when looking directly from the front with the continuous purple. However, they do store her gun quietly. Is that worth the kibble? Probably not. But if you want, you can just think of them as a flowy trench coat. You know, that works, I think. I kind of think a trench coat is more fitting for an angry emo rageball nebula sapphic sister like Shadow Striker, as opposed to an uptight obnoxio jerk like Crosshairs. Anyway, we tread upon her instruments of striking, which appear to be a blaster and two pieces of a car. The blaster's a good enough piece of blastin' plastic sculpted like its own spaceship. I'm also supposed to be convinced this can be a blade, but consider me unfooled. The box advertises an Evo Fusion gimmick, or in Shadow Striker's case, an Emo Fusion, which I suppose the Legacy Evolution name comes from, but here it literally just means her bumper can peg onto her gun. That's it. I see what it was going for with Sideburn's missile launcher, but without that context, it is pretty silly-pilled. However, the bumper does make a shield on its own. I'm not quite won over by that, but it does make for decent out-of-the-way arm storage. Unlike with this massive, arm-mounted, indisputable car roof, which definitely looks more like a shield. I guess you can say that it's a windshield. I think it works fine since the mold is inspired by RID 2001, when Transformers were so brazen with their kibble, you almost have to respect it. So while imperfect, her robot mode does still stack up swimmingly enough. The combination of her far apart legs, deepened shoulders, and boxy chest make for an unusual customer, and that's before getting into her entire car roof on her arm. I can see why it's a bit weird in some angles, but that at least fits the character thematically, given at least a little bit of that mismatched energy. But she still poses tight, the angry eggplant color scheme clads this sassy badass lass with attitude, and she makes a unique car former body type. Now let's make like a shadow, and let's shift! She transforms in a way that feels so unique and unconventional. It's straightening out her back stick, poking her legs up like a frenzied ballerina, and topping it off by just tabbing in the kibble flaps. The way the headlights unfold from her chest is super creative, but I wish the actual tabbing of the headlights was easier. But the way her chest and pelvis make the front of the car is so interesting, I have to respect it. I have to. It's pleasing, tactile, and very memorable. Plus, you don't have to take off the big car roof, which is awesome. But it does feel a little underwhelming to just plug the bumper in like an afterthought. So at last, we've arrived to this dashing midnight villain zooming through the shadowy side of the neon illuminated streets. And honestly, it's pretty good. It looks almost Prime-esque with one foot square in stylized realism and the other in sci-fi shenanigans. The front's chunksome, but it's got some character to it. It almost gives off an animated vibe. The purple keeps pulling its power in this mode, and the translucent red windows are just bleeding with seething evil. There's a bit of a pop of brightness with the colors in this mode tied together with the red hot engine, cool blue headlights, suave as hell red tire touch-ups, and a generic non-brand specific Superman logo. The robot back panels do at least pull their weight in this mode, allowing for smooth enough sides and no panel lines too obnoxious. She's a compact, low-to-the-ground cruiser and drives the fine line between looking cute and mean. Like she doesn't want to talk, but you want to ask her how her day was. Her gun star's on top, which definitely gives it a place to go, no denying that. And she's not wasting a millimeter of space underneath. I also kind of like how sarcastically flat the top of the car is. In summary, it's a good, smooth, plump that's a fun enough car and good in the hand. Plus, she's showing off full crotch on a Tuesday night. And with that, I'm rather struck by Shadow Striker. She's a sweet, satisfying sapphic speedster who's got me swooning. She makes for one of the better car cons out there, and she's just a good solid figure that I like messing with. Which is adult toy collectors speak for, she is a fun toy and I like playing with it.
They are not toys, they're figurines!
She seems like she'd be girlfriends with Axel Grease. I can totally imagine them defacing the local precinct while blasting Laura Jane Grace while they smooch. And I think it's refreshing that Shadow Striker has a chance of the sunlight as a Deluxe mainline Generations figure, being a Cyberverse character and all. I hope she thrives in future media and becomes a Transformers mainstay. Plus, I think there's always more room for women on the shelf. And since we're doing Cyberverse, you know, if we can get Slipstream, that'd be nice. So on that final note, consider yourselves shadow struck.